Hi, are you struggling to format your paperback book ready to publish on Kindle Direct Publishing? Maybe you submitted your manuscript and it was rejected. This is the video for you. I'm going to take you step by step through the process to format your paperback for KDP using Microsoft Word. Hi, I'm Suzanne Miller. Welcome to the Susie Sunshine channel. This channel is all about side hustles. If you're interested in making a passive income, do hit the subscribe button and the bell so you don't miss any of the other videos on this channel. This series is focused on self-publishing, and today we're looking at formatting your paperback. So let's get started. Here we are in Kindle Direct Publishing. I'm going to assume you've got a KDP account, and I'm going to show you where I found the information that I followed when I was formatting my first paperback, because I couldn't find a video that would show me how to do it quickly. So I went into the help pages, I clicked on the Get Started with Kindle content here, and then you'll see manuscript formatting and paperback. So if I click on paperback, it gives me a simple diagram that tells me the different ways that I could format my book. I know that I want to format it using Word. The guides themselves are linked below the diagram here, and the very first one is the step-by-step guide for Word on a PC. If I click on that one, it's going to take me into that help page. There is a video here, but before you get too excited, it's only about 1.5 minutes long. It certainly does not take you through step by step as I'm about to do. So I went to the download instructions because I wanted to be able to view them easily. And I saved that document. It has all of the different bits and pieces that you need to do in order to format your book. And there are quite a number of steps in here, so it takes a little while. So the purpose of this video is to cut that short for you. I will be following the instructions, so you will be able to reference this document as you watch the video, but I'll be showing you and demonstrating how to do it so that you can pause the video and do it along with me as we go through these steps. Now, just before we jump into this, I'm going to scoot back up to one of the early steps, which talks about margins, and particularly about whether you want bleed or not, and this is going to be quite important. So if you look at this picture here, you can see that the content of that picture goes all the way outside the margins to the edge of the pages. If you're planning to do that, then the size of paper that you're going to choose in Word will be different from the size of paper you will choose if you're just going to keep everything inside the margins. Now, I tend to keep everything inside the margins, but if you're planning to bleed your pictures out of the margins, then before we get started, we're just going to pop back up here to the help pages again, just to show you. I'm going through exactly the same process into paperback, back into this nice diagram, and you'll see that there is a manuscript templates link. If we pop into that just quickly and scroll down, it will give you the book sizes. So you can see here, if you're going to do a paperback that's 5 by 8 inches without bleed, that's fine, that's all you need to know. If you intend to bleed your pictures outside of the margins, then you're going to need to set your page size to a bigger size, and they're all listed here. So before you get started formatting your book, the first decision you're going to need to make is what size book do you want? And you want to go with one of the standard sizes in this list, and you need to pick out whether it's going to be bleed or no bleed, and make a note of that somewhere before we get started on formatting the book. I'm going to pop back to the instructions now and we're going to get started. And the first step is setting your page size and your margins. I'm going into Word where I've got my book. This is an ebook that I've published on Amazon. I haven't published a paperback, so I'm going to take you through step by step setting this ebook up as a paperback. Because it is an ebook, I already have what Amazon would call front matter, and you'll see this in the instructions as we go through. And front matter is simply the pages before chapter 1, and there's usually a title page, which we've got here, and a copyright page, which we've got here, and a contents page. And then you go into introduction. Now, don't worry if you haven't got these at the moment, we can put them in afterwards. If your book starts with the introduction or chapter 1, that's fine. We will sort out the front matter as we go. So the first thing we're going to do is set the paper size. To do that, we click on the layout menu across the top. You'll see there's a little section of options here, margins, orientation and so on. We're going to click on the little triangle here to get the full page setup page, and it has 3 sections: margins, which we're going to come back to in a moment, paper and layout. We're starting off with paper, and I'm in inches here in mine. You might be in centimeters, but if you go back to the list that we saw in the template section, it shows you inches and centimeters, so you can set whichever you need. As I said, mine is going to be 8 by 5, so that's actually 5 width and 8 tall, and those are the margins that I want. I'm going to click on OK just to show you that that's set. There we go. And now we're going to go back in and set our margins by clicking on the margins tab, and you'll see here you've got top, left, gutter, bottom and right. So the first thing that threw me, because I didn't read it properly, was why is it talking about inside and outside margins when I've got left and right margins? And that's because the first thing that you need to do when you're setting margins for a paperback book is change the multiple pages option here to mirror margins, at which point miraculously it changes to inside and outside, and now at least you've got the same measurements as the table is talking about. It also talks about gutter, so I was thinking, well, do I need to set the gutter to this amount as well? But if you look at the instructions, it says very clearly, whether you're using bleed or no bleed, not to set a value in the gutter field. So really all you're doing is looking at the inside value and the outside value, and slightly different if you're doing a bleed. The other thing that I got wrong the first time I formatted was I missed the fact that they're saying at least. And my first paperback was rejected because I used 0.25 and the outside margin wasn't big enough in some cases. I'm not exactly sure why. It was only on certain pages, but it didn't work and the book was rejected. So the at least means that actually we're going to set those margins a bit bigger. So let's just go ahead and do that. So the top margin is going to be 0.3. The bottom margin is going to be 0.3. My inside margin is going to be 0.6. And my outside margin is going to be 0.3. And then I should be fairly confident that my book's going to be fine. Now you'll see that it's also talking about sections here. That's because I've got section breaks, which we're going to talk about in a little while. And you want to just make sure at this point that it's saying whole document in this space, and then click on OK. Now Word might grumble at that point to say that the margins are outside of your printable area. Well, you're not going to print this book, so you're fine with that. You're going to say ignore and carry on. and you'll see there you've got your margins set. So it ends up looking a bit odd, but trust me, this is the right formatting for a paperback on Amazon. So we're now moving on to step 2, which is modifying the styles for your book. Styles in Word you may or may not be familiar with are simply a standard set of fonts, sizes, justifications within the margins, etc. So it's all of your formatting of your text can be contained in a style, and you can apply that style across a document. So back into Word, we're going to go back to the home menu. Styles are here, normal, heading 1, heading 2 and so on. It's more than likely that the majority of your book is already in the normal style, but you may have individually formatted certain areas. So if I look at this for instance, yes, that is the normal style, but clearly I've made it bigger and bolder, etc. If you want to change the normal style, so it might be that your documents in Word are normally Arial and you want the book to be Times New Roman because that's generally what they recommend. You can change the font here, the size, probably not going to make the body of your text bold, but you might want to choose left aligned or fully justified, depending on what type of book you're writing. And then you're going to click on OK. So if you changed your font, then let me just do that so you can see it. If I change my font to Arial, you can see that the majority of my book changes to that font. If you do want to go with the advice and select the whole document and apply the normal style, then you press Ctrl A on your keyboard and you click on the normal style. Now we're going to have a look at the heading style. Going to modify that. So with the heading style, the main thing is we're probably going to make it bigger, and we're going to make it bold, and we're going to center it. Then we're going to go down through our book and apply the heading style to each of our chapter headings. Now you'll see that my paragraphs are fully justified. If you're writing a fiction book, you may want to indent the first line of each paragraph, and that can be done using the normal style. So if I just pop back into modifying the normal style, down at the bottom left here is the format button. You click on that, up into paragraph, change the special option to first line, and it'll give you a 0.5 indent, which is probably fine. Click on OK, and you'll see that it's indented the first line. Now we're going to move on to step 3, which is formatting chapters, and this is where we need to talk about section breaks. And section breaks will enable you to put headers and footers that are different in each of your chapters. So if you wanted to have the chapter heading running across the top of the page or the bottom of the page, then you're going to need to put section breaks into your book. Amazon advise you to put section breaks in at the end of each chapter and after your front matter pages. So I have my front matter pages, title, copyright and contents. But because this is an ebook, I know I've put page breaks in, and the easiest way to see that is to click on your paragraph marks button up here, and you'll see there that I've put a page break in rather than a section break. If I haven't got a section break in here, then when I apply page numbering to the document, I'm going to end up with page numbers from my title page onwards, which isn't what I want. So I'm going to remove this page break and replace it with a section break. I do that by clicking on the layout menu, going to the breaks option and choosing a next page section break. Exactly the same as a page break. I can now remove my page break, but it will enable me to set up different headers and footers, different page numbering in the different sections. And I'm going to go through my document and replace the page break at the end of each chapter with a section break. The instructions sensibly suggest that you apply the heading style to your chapter headings as you put the section breaks in. The only downside of that is you've got to keep switching between the menus, but it will mean that you can do both of those formatting changes and only go through the book once. Okay, now the one thing you might want to do is move each chapter heading further down the page, and you can do that manually, but you could also do it by modifying the heading style. By going down into format, up to paragraph, and you'll see line spacing before, so I could put quite a few lines in there if I wanted to and push that chapter heading down the page, and you'll see then as I go through the book it's moved each of the chapter headings down the page, and quite often that's done with a fiction book. So now we've covered step 3, we're moving on to step 4, which is formatting the front matter, and it gives you all the types of pages that you might have, and my front matter is now in a separate section. If you're just putting your front matter in now, then you would create a section break and you would put these extra pages in, and you can format those however you want to. Now the contents page that I had for my ebook didn't have any page numbers because depending on what size people are viewing the book, you can't tell what page number your chapters are going to land on. But for a paperback, you are going to want to put a contents page in with page numbers, and the easiest way to do that is using the Word automatic contents page. So I'm just going to delete what I put in manually for my ebook. I'm going to go up to references and I'm going to choose standard table of contents style. I'm going to delete my manual contents. So you can see it doesn't quite fit. I'm just going to select the whole thing and make it a little bit smaller. So that it fits nicely on the page. I only want page numbers from my chapters onwards. I don't want page numbers on my front matter. You could choose to have a different style of page numbers on your front matter, but to me that just makes it more complicated. So I'm just going to put some basic page numbering into the main body of my book. To make this easier to see, I'm just going to switch out of a 2-page view to a 1-page view. And I'm going to double click right at the bottom of the page, and that's going to take me into headers and footers, and you can see it's also taken me into the new header and footer menu that's popped up here. And the first thing I'm going to do is unlink this from the previous section. And the way I'm going to do that is by deselecting link to previous, and you'll see that's disappeared. Now when I go to page number up here and I choose bottom of the page, I want mine in the center. You can see that it's starting at page 4, but it hasn't put the page numbers into the previous section. Now I might actually want that number to start at number 1, so I'm going to go back into format page numbers and I'm going to tell it to start at page 1. There we go, and you can see there now my first chapter has page number 1. So the other thing you might want to do is just move the page number down, because it does seem quite high up on the page, and you can see here footer from bottom. If I reduce that, not too much, because I know that my bottom margin has got to be at least 0.3, but if I put it at 0.3, then that means my page number is going to be at the bottom of the page. And then I'm just going to double click into the main body and my page numbers are done. There are a couple of advanced elements to the instructions. One is putting headers in, which is very similar to what we've just done with footers. Another is drop capitals at the start of your chapters. But those aren't necessary to publish, so you have everything you need now to format your book and publish it on Kindle Direct Publishing. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please do hit the subscribe button and the bell so you can watch other videos on this channel. If you're wondering now how to create your book cover, I have another video that'll show you again step by step how to do that absolutely free. I'll pop the link up in the corner. Please do check it out. See you next time. This series is focused on self-publishing, and today we're looking at formatting your This series is focused on self-publishing, and today we're looking at formatting your paper book. Hi, I'm Suzanne Miller. This is the Susie Sunshine channel. Hi, I'm Suzanne Miller. Welcome to the Susie Sunshine channel. This channel is all about side hustles. If you're interested in that type of thing, woo!